Okay, I'm live. I don't usually go live, quite frankly. Um, I don't have enough subscribers or followers that are going to get in touch with me at a certain time. But I'm having nightmares. I am frigging pissed off. 37 years ago, I was left to die on the streets in conditions worse than a goddamn stray dog. And I set out to get number one, the cause of my disease. And it started when I was only 6 years old. So it was on and off. And I worked for 23 years in investment, um, up to a point until I was 42. My brain was genius. We won't go there, but I was a genius. I could analyze anything. I could call the stock market with 100% accuracy in advance. I was offered unbelievable opportunities, but my body was weak and my legs would give out. I really wanted to be a dancer, and I collapsed in the middle of rehearsal on my way to Broadway. That was in the 60s. I met Elizabeth Taylor. She offered to help me. I was so dumb. I believed my doctors. They said it was genetic. Well, it wasn't genetic. That's not true. But I didn't have enough knowledge. And I wasn't the type that cared what you thought. 7 years old, connected to the universe. And if it wasn't born on the planet, I wasn't getting on my knees and praying to it. So I wasn't your average broad, but I was beautiful and I was brilliant and I was gorgeous, even though my body was weak. So I was the victim of an extreme amount of violence and rape. And at the same time, I was rescued by the mafia, by pimps. I mean, a lesbian biker gang took care of me. I mean, so my life isn't normal, never was. But I had what the Jewish people called chutzpah. They said, Trudy, you got more balls than a football team. It was true. And you could stick a gun in my face and I didn't give a shit. Shoot me, make my day. That was my attitude. So, and I really didn't care. I cared about helping people. I cared about children that were being poisoned and dying with leukemia. I took care of a little leukemia child for 3 years. I took care of a schizophrenic for 3 years. She was 7 years old. Judy is still in my heart, my special daughter. I rescued a 16-year-old girl trying to kill herself. I was always involved in something. But I want to tell you, after a doctor tried to murder me, I decided that's it. F you all. And I turned my back on the medical establishment, on my family, on my friends, on Canadians. And I said, I'm going to research. And I got on the phone with the White House. And I said, I'm dying. I've been poisoned and I can't get any information in Canada. And I need to talk for agencies in the United States. But I lose my train of thought, my speech, and I get mixed up and they hang up on me. And she said, well, they won't hang up on the White House. She said, you're paying for the call? I said, yes, I am. She said, well, we're not busy today. Stay on the line. I'll connect you. Well, she connected me to the NIOSH Department of Chemical Hazards, helped me explain what I wanted, and they sent me their handbook. She connected me to the Environmental Protection Agency in Dallas, Texas, and they sent me a whole bunch of research. She connected me to Centers for Disease Control, NIOSH Department of Chemical Hazards. Oh, I said that. National Institute on Drug Abuse. Dr. Jaffe talked to me on the phone. In fact, he called me back. He was so interested in my situation. So this went on for about a year. And I was in the Rackle gas mask because people wouldn't talk to me in my other one. They had to see my face. So I was in the Rackle Airstream. And I got media publicity, and a general in the military asked me to give a talk. And when I looked at their gas mask, they had better in the First World War than they had in 1990 to go in the Gulf War. So, needless to say, they were coming back very sick and very poisoned. So, make a long story short, number one goal was to get better work conditions. Number two was to get disability insurance to stop being denied that we had a disease from being poisoned. And number three was to find a food that would reverse the brain damage and detoxify us very cheap and very safe, other than chelating therapy, which had a lot of risk and could be dangerous. And I couldn't do chelating. I couldn't do any of that stuff. I would have died. My immune system, I have dangerously low T and B cell function, and there's just no way. So it's not really an allergy. It's more than it's worse than an allergy. I'm extremely intolerant. I slept in that Rackle Airstream for 3 years. Anyway, I succeeded. I'm 80 years old and I succeeded. Everything I wanted, I got. So what do I do now? I put it out on YouTube. I did 500 videos. I did websites. Websites got no action, no response, no nothing. The world had changed. The media wasn't interested in me. And then my father told a bunch of lies about me before he died. And so I got blacklisted. As if my problems weren't big enough. We won't even go there. So through Facebook, I connected with MCS and allergy groups all over the world: Australia, England, Finland, Europe, and particularly United States. Well, 37 years later, Americans are treating Americans like they treated me 37 years ago. They have all these agencies with all this information that help me for free. And these people, and was living in a shack, being horribly abused by a group of Mennonites of all things. Who would have thought that the Mennonites would be abusive? Well, there's no limit to the amount of abuse from society. Families disregarding and dumping their children out onto the streets. Hunter living in his car, having to take chelating therapy on his own without medical help. And it's insane. Florida, California, Oklahoma, Kansas City, which is the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventists, and they have all kinds of information on how to treat chemical poisoning going back 2,000 years. The only thing is they didn't know about canola oil, and I fought with them, and I got them to do some. The head in Kansas City, and I think it's Kansas City is in Kentucky. Oh, I forget. It doesn't matter. Anyway, it's Kansas City, and that's about 5 years ago, and I got them to recognize that canola oil is toxic. RAPE seed is poisonous and causes multiple chemical hypersensitivities, crippling, and brain damage to animals that ate it. And it was banned in the United States until 1994. And the Canadian government, in their corruption, got it approved by the FDA. And yet, I got help from the FDA. When my mother was dying, they helped me. And all these Americans are being treated worse than dog shit. Now, you got animal rights activists that don't allow a dog to be treated the way these people are being treated. And it's happening all over the United States. Now, I don't have a big enough platform to do anything about it. I'm 80 years old. I'm in a region that is a bunch of redneck jackasses that think they're cured if they get a vaccine. Well, it stops you from dying, but it's not a cure. You're still going to get COVID, and you're going to spread it to your children. And that's just what's happened. Sudbury, Ontario is now a hot spot in Ontario. We got more active cases of COVID in Ontario, in Sudbury, than we have in Toronto, which is our biggest city in Ontario and one of the biggest in Canada. Anyway, I don't want to talk about COVID. If you want to die from COVID, go for it. Be my goddamn guest. I don't give a shit. But poisoning people on the job 37 years later, dumping them out on the streets, they're not even getting welfare. Some are, but most of them aren't. Unbelievable. Wake up, people. That could be your grandchildren. I'm talking 37 years later. I understand how you treated the coal miners. And it took the unions to put a stop to it. Well, one of the best unions is the Steelworkers Union. They're the ones that helped me in Canada. That's an American union. What are you doing? Sitting back, letting this happen to your people? Young people go to work at a factory and they come out with uranium poisoning? Come on. Lead poisoning, uranium poisoning. You'll have to contact Hunter for the list, because I mean, asbestos only got banned in 2011 in Canada. And all over the United States, people are getting asbestos poisoning because they've bought mattresses on Amazon coming from countries that are covering the mattresses in asbestos to make them fire retardant, and they're getting lung cancer. This is not a joke, but you know what? If you get lung cancer, at least you get treatment and you get legal for free, and you'll get your disability. Oh my God, I'm so pissed off. 37 years later, and this is how you're treating your workers? Come on, Americans. You've got all these agencies. You've got all that information. You gave it to me in 1990. 1989, neurologists recognized the disease as Parkinsonism, and you're being told there's no such thing as multiple chemical sensitivities. It's a symptom, you dummies. It's a symptom of disease caused by being poisoned. That's been known for 5,000 years. Oh, I don't know. I can't do anymore. I've done all I know how to do. You got to join hands. You got to fight back. You have the information. You have the scientists. It's well known. And you're abandoning people who are poisoned on the job, and you're treating them worse than a stray dog. A stray dog would get picked up and brought into a shelter and get treatment and looked after, and then put into a foster care home that loved it. Don't you think your people deserve half as much as that? What's it going to take? I don't know. I'm talking to the wall, to an empty vacuum. There's nobody out there. There's nobody listening. It's what I went through 37 years ago. Get in a gas mask and fight back. You still have media. Go to your local media and demand your story be made public. This is not new. Multiple chemical sensitivities is a symptom of being poisoned, and the disease is well known by the Mayo Clinic as Parkinsonism. Now, just like cancer, there's 10,000 kinds of cancer. Well, there's 10,000 kinds of causes for Parkinsonism, and the symptoms vary. My legs give out. Lost my memory, lost my brain. I reversed it with raw okra, 100% memory today. And I went from being a genius to not being able to read and I couldn't write at all, beyond the level of a 5-year-old child, and it was completely incoherent. And I did 5 websites that I closed down because they were going nowhere, with all the research and all the science. And now I've got a couple of websites that are free and they're going nowhere, but that's okay, because I know that what I did, I was supposed to do, and it was for the future. But all you people being dumped on the streets, living in a shack, no, 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 no. This is wrong. Come on, Americans. You don't treat dogs this way. Don't do this to your people. Please. Put out the information in your community, put out flyers, join together, and help these people get disability. At the very least, they went to work young, healthy, beautiful, and poisoned on the job. Get them disability and put a stop to letting companies do that. They can't do that in Canada anymore. Why? Because Americans helped me and American unions helped me. And now we got laws. Canadians didn't do it. It was Americans. And now I find out that you're treating your own people this way? Shame on you, Americans. Shame on you. Well, there's nobody here and there's nobody listening. I'm talking to a vacuum and it's 17 minutes, so over and out. I've done what I can do.